So a polyhedron is a 3D object that is created using polygons. So remember, the big things with polygons is that it doesn't have any curves. It only is made up of straight lines. So that means that a polyhedron won't have any curves. Good deal. All right, so for a polyhedron, there's different faces on it. So the bases are the polygons that are going to be parallel to each other. So the big thing about the bases is that they are going to be anything not a rectangle. So in this guy, we have, let's see, how many sides is that? 6, a hexagon there. So he's going to be our base. Let's see, that's A, B, C, D, E, F for that guy's name. He's a polygon. Now, lateral faces are the ones that are going around the polyhedron, and they're always going to be either parallelograms or rectangles. Remember, lateral means side, so it's going around the sides. So lateral face, that would be something like FELM, this rectangle right here in front. That guy would be a lateral face. Awesome. Okay, now edges. The big thing about edges is that they are going to be lines. So a lateral edge connects two lateral faces. So a lateral edge would be something like this AG right there. A base edge connects the base to one of the lateral faces. So like right here, AF. Good deal. And then a vertex is going to be a point. A vertex is where some edges all meet at one single point. So that would be like right here at F. Good deal. All right, so a regular polyhedron is a polyhedron whose faces, all the bases and lateral faces, are all congruent regular polygons. Okay, so first of all, with all of these, we want to decide which of them are polyhedrons and then which of them are regular. So remember, to be a polyhedron, all the faces have to be polygons. So that means no curves. So this first one doesn't have any curves, so he's a polyhedron. This second one doesn't have a curve either, so that's another polyhedron. He's a cube right there. This third one has a curve, so that means it is not a polyhedron. The last one that looks like a stove doesn't have any curves, so he is a polyhedron. Now we have to decide if it is regular or not. So when we're looking at that first, he's called a rectangular prism, all those faces, they're all rectangles, but they're not all the exact same size and shape, right? Since they're not all the exact same size and shape for all of those faces, he is not regular. Now that cube over there, all of his faces are going to be those congruent squares, right? So since all of the faces are regular congruent polygons, this guy is regular. The third guy isn't a polyhedron, so he can't be a regular polyhedron. And then that last one that looks like a stove or a washing machine, I can't decide what appliance it looks like. But all those faces aren't the exact same size and shape, so that is not regular. All right, good deal. So let's talk about prisms. So prisms are a polyhedron that have two parallel congruent faces. And those parallel congruent faces are called your bases. Now your bases are going to be anything that's not a rectangle. If you have anything that is not a rectangle, that is your base. Good deal. So over in this guy, we can see that we have a triangle over here. That guy is going to be my base. Here's his parallel congruent face. Those two guys are my bases. So triangle DEF or triangle ABC. Those will be my bases. Remember, the lateral faces are going to be your rectangles. So the lateral faces are going to go around those bases. So right here, this rectangle, he'll be one of our lateral faces. So that's FEBC. A lateral edge is going to attach those two. Actually, let's talk about the base edge real quick, and then we'll talk about the lateral edge. So the base edge is going to connect a base to really anything else. So we know those two triangles are our bases. So let's just pick an edge on this guy. So like over here, DF would be a base edge. So is FE and DE and AC and CB and AB. Those are all base edges. Okay, now, lateral edge. The reason I was like, oh, let's go back and talk about him for a second. Lateral edge in general doesn't sound like a big deal. He connects two lateral faces. So, like in this situation, that would be like DA. Now, the important thing about the lateral edge is that it is the same thing as the height of the prism. So now, remember that height isn't necessarily how far up from the bottom we're actually talking about. So like, I'm 5'6". If I lay down, I'm still 5'6", right? That's not going to change anything. You're not going to start measuring me, by my stomach. That would not be very nice of you. So some of these prisms are laying down. So when we talk about their height, it's the distance between the bases. Distance between bases. Great. Okay, so really want to emphasize that. So DA would be our height right there. This distance is our height. All right, good deal. So over here we have a rectangular prism, right? And we want to see, which of these match up with the vocab words. But I was telling you earlier that with the bases, it's anything that's not a rectangle, right? And over in this one, everything is a rectangle, so which one is your base? Well, they highlighted it in yellow, which one is going to be your base. So it's not, basically, your base is anything that's not a rectangle. If everything is a rectangle, pick which one you want to be your base. And if you want that bottom one to be your base, that means that top parallel guy is going to be your other base. So let's see. Our base is going to be a rectangle. Let's see up here, he is A, D, G, H. That's A right here. He's going to be my base. Okay, then we're looking at HF. HF is this stretch right here. He's going to be the distance between those two bases, right? And he's going to connect my lateral faces together. So that means that HF right here is going to be my lateral edge or my height. Might be a little bit harder to see. Let's do this. There we go. There's my height. Okay, now we're looking at AD. So AD is right here. He is on my base, right? So he's the edge of my base, so he is a base edge. Next, we're looking at point B. Point B is right here. He's where all those edges come and meet at one point. So if it's a point, it's going to be a vertex. And that means that this last rectangle, this purple one right here that they have kind of shaded in, that guy is going to be my lateral face because he's going around the outside. Good deal. Okay, so now that we're looking at prisms, we want to be able to name them. So the way that we're going to name them, okay, so first of all, a right prism, it just means that it's straight up and down. Okay, all the lateral faces are going to be rectangles. So cool, just like we've talked about. An oblique prism, all of the lateral faces are parallelograms. So kind of the way that you think about it is they're slanty. So like if you take a stack of quarters, I don't know if I'm the only one who does this when they have to go and like use the laundromat and you need a big stack of quarters. I'll kind of take them and lean them in different directions. That would be an oblique cylinder, okay? They're just a little bit slanty. Now, the thing about them that's kind of cool is that when we get into volume, we find its volume the exact same way. There's no difference. He just leans a little bit. He's got a little Leaning Tower of Pisa thing going on with him. So that's what oblique means. Okay, cool. So let's talk about how to name prisms. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to take its base and then turn it into an adjective. So if it's a triangle, triangular. If it's, well, square is square, so it's the same thing. But we're going to do base as an adjective and then put prism afterwards. So in this first guy, our base is a rectangle. So this is a rectangular prism. I decided that rectangle on top was going to be my base. So from here to here is going to be my height. In the next one, the only shape that isn't a rectangle is that triangle. So right here, this triangle is going to be my base. So he is a triangular prism. Got my eye, oopsies. And then this other triangle is our base. So the distance between those two is our height. In the next one, the only polygon that is not a rectangle is this hexagon here. So hexagonal prism or hexagonal. So he'll be our base. And the distance from that base to the other base will be our height. This guy is a triangular prism again. Our bases are those triangles. And the distance between them is the height. No difference. He just leans. All right, so let's name these prisms. That first guy, our base, is going to be this trapezoid. So that means he is a trapezoidal prism. The distance between that trapezoid and the other trapezoid will be the height of the prism. Do you see this guy on B? He's leaning, right? So what that means is he's going to be oblique. His base right here is going to be a rectangle. Prism. And the distance between those congruent bases will be our height. Okay, in the next one, remember, anything that's not a rectangle is our base. So that means that our triangle right here is going to be our base. So he is a triangular prism. And the distance between those two triangles will be the height of that prism. Over here in the next one, the shape that's not a rectangle is this octagon right here. So that's octagonal or octagonal prism. And the distance between those two octagons will be the height of our prism. All right, sounds good. See you guys a little bit later.